I wanted to write this open letter to Erica because I know that Turning Point USA watches every episode of this podcast and that people then take what I say back to her and they give her notation. So I would appreciate it if the elves at Turning Point USA just let her see this in its entirety. Here we go. Because more information has become available to me. I am feeling, well, I'm feeling some type of way. Here we go. Ready? Dear Erica, I thought it best to do this publicly. I think public conversations keep everybody honest. And there are some things that certainly need to be clarified because sometimes the gap between the truth and the lie is what happens behind closed doors. You and Charlie began dating in earnest in 2019, and in retrospect, it was accompanied by a season of a lot of change. For one, I was getting married and virtually, therefore, joined at the hip with my fiance. He was sort of a new third wheel at all of our events. A few months later, on May 1st, the public was informed that I was resigning from my position as the communications director of Turning Point USA. Now, there has been a lot of public speculation as to what led to that decision. The media ran with it was anti-Semitism or some disagreement about Kanye West, but that wasn't true. None of that was true. The truth, and I think that you very well know what the truth is, because you were around for it, is that Charlie and I had a disagreement which fractured my trust in him. He did something that he had never done before. He lied to my face about money. Now, in retrospect, I believe that the manner in which I discovered the lie might have been by design, but there's no need for us to delve into conspiracy when the facts are plenty enough. Charlie had taken a meeting down in Florida with Ike Perlmutter at Mar-a-Lago. It was a fundraising meeting. For whatever reason, he did not want me to know about this meeting, and that was strange. It was meant to be kept a secret. It was strange because we had always collaborated on and taken those sorts of meetings together. Anyway, I found out about it, and I decided to ask him casually as we were riding up an elevator at the Trump Hotel in D.C. I said to him, have you heard from Ike recently? And he looked me right in the face just as he was getting off on his floor. And he said, no, I haven't. I haven't heard from him in like 2 weeks. And I then said back to him, really, Charlie, because you had lunch with him yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. And I saw his stomach drop. His entire face looked, as if he was going down a roller coaster. He stuck his arm back in the elevator really quickly and tried to explain it away. He then pivoted toward an apology, but obviously the damage was done. And if I'm being honest, I was as hurt as I was shocked and confused by it because we were close. We did go back down to the lobby. We sat at a table and we talked. I don't even remember whether or not I was angry. I probably was. That does tend to be my choice emotion. But deep down, there was a part of me that knew that it was coming because of a lot of the new hires that were coming into Turning Point USA post-Kanye tweet. Charlie had new people in his ear that were hijacking his ambition, making him believe that money was the truest measure of success. Charlie was a brilliant fundraiser. Everybody knows that, but he was also young. He was naive to what the wrong money could invite into his life. And I warned him. I warned him in that restaurant. I warned him specifically about Stacey Sheridan. Everything about her made my skin crawl. And I suspected she and Tyler had something to do with it. I also warned him about Schaefer Security and Dan Flood. You can check the text messages because you have them. And now I am left wondering, obviously, if Charlie had heeded my advice, if he would still be alive. I've also come to another realization that I missed at that time. Maybe the newest and the biggest influence in his ear. Who was that, obviously? It was you. You were the newest and biggest influence in Charlie's life. You kind of all arrived at the same time. And you too, Erica, you lied to my face as we sat down in that hotel and we spoke for 4 hours. But I want to be clear, it was different. You see, with Charlie, I could forgive him. We were always like brother and sister. We went on tours thereafter. But you didn't do it when you lied. You didn't do it out of naivety. You didn't do it because you were young and being pulled into the wrong direction by bad faith actors. Andrew Colvett was never going rogue. You knew that. Every single evil thing that was done to me was done with your blessing. And I consider the onslaught of attacks that I had to endure, they were evil. Because you knew I was telling the truth, and you authorized people with an incredible amount of money to attack one of the few people in politics who was actually grieving your husband. You knew we had a deep friendship. You knew I was telling the truth about the Catholic thing, about everything. You allowed these people to lie and to say that Charlie and I hadn't spoken since 2019. I mean, it's crazy how much of a lie that was. You authorized it, and I now know that. The question is why? It was so cruel. It was so mean, right? Why impart that on someone who you know within a sea of snakes actually cared about Charlie and didn't want anything out of the organization? Maybe it's because I was like a loose end, one person that wasn't controlled by an organization. I'd just kind of proven that I'd rather lose everything to say something that I don't believe, least of all for money. I mean, maybe it's also because you have his phone. And when I revealed to the public that he had predicted his own death in remarkable detail, maybe you went back and you read the rest of those messages, the ones that I haven't yet revealed to the public, because in retrospect, those messages they're pretty terrifying because they're precise and it feels prophetic. Charlie was gifted. You know that. I know that. And the government most certainly knew that as well since he was a kid, which is why it was at least very interesting to me that you told the New York Times, something that most people didn't pay attention to, but you told the New York Times the night before his murder, Charlie's, and I'm going to quote this, you said that Charlie's adrenal glands were just going off. He couldn't sleep. I know enough about Charlie to know what that means. That means that Charlie was being bothered. He was probably having visions like he was in 2018, probably a clearer vision than the one that I had that you guys tried to mock, that danger was coming. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it wasn't about a Jezebel article written by some leftist. Please stop saying that because it's not true. I know Charlie, a leftist article didn't upset him in this way, didn't make him call a priest to pray over him. He thought someone was going to kill him. He did. He expressed that in writing. And you did not lose those text messages. You knew that. Charlie and I spoke a lot about his third eye. That's why that sentence caught my attention in the article. He spoke about the street lamps that would go off when he would run, about the special school that he had to go to. We spoke about a lot of the things that were strange in our childhood, the testing that both of us had to endure. We spoke about the fact that we could both astral project. You know all of this, of course. You have his phone. And how surprised we were when we learned that not everybody does that naturally. Sleep paralysis, you name it. We had conversations about it. And if Charlie's adrenal glands were going off, it was probably maybe for the very same reason that I pulled my kids out of school days before he was murdered, because I sensed danger was coming. And since we are being open, I also want you to know that it struck me as odd when you said in that interview with Jesse Waters that you wanted Charlie to have a good night's sleep. He was so excited. So you sent him to sleep in his daughter's room. You know, it just registered to me as a little bit backwards. If I wanted my husband to have a good night's sleep because of something he had the next day, I'd probably let him sleep in the room and I would sleep in my daughter's room. I flagged that. I also thought what was interesting is that you said the next morning when he snuck in, he grabbed his wedding band. Again, minor detail, but I asked myself, why was his wedding band off? But enough with speculation. Here are the facts. I now have verifiable proof in writing that Justin Strife and you lied to me. You know exactly who Pierre is. Why did Justin Strife say that he had never heard of Pierre? It's crazy. Justin, why would you do that? Justin, you know him. You've met with him. You've personally met with Pierre. Erica, you've met with him in the wake of Charlie's death. I have, again, verifiable proof. So you can call your lawyers. You can spend another $1 billion on PR if you want to. Tell your lawyer to call my lawyer. I mean, you guys certainly have the money to do all of these things. It's not going to wipe away the truth, okay? The truth is that there was a deal on the table with Pierre, who, yes, is from France, born in France. And that deal was worth billions, not millions, billions, plural, billions of dollars. Just after Charlie was shot, and again, I have proof, Pierre had a phone call with Justin Strife. He also had a phone call with Mr. Don Orico of Turning Point USA down in Tampa. And you know what's really odd? Somehow this Frenchman, Pierre, he knew that Charlie was dead before the rest of the world did. How did he know that? How did he know before I knew? Especially because he wasn't yet a donor to Turning Point USA. Why was he given so much priority? Frenchman. I'm interested. I know that after Charlie died, that deal went through. Yeah. I mean, if I'm lying, this would definitely fall within the category of defamation. So, yeah, I'm all in on this one. I'm guessing, by the way, regarding this, Pierre, that this might be the reason that the White House never got back to me regarding the French Foreign Legion being involved with Charlie's assassination. Because, I don't know, there could be a French angle here. Could this be a motive? Could billions of dollars be a motive? I mean, I'll just ask some immediate questions. My question would be, why would a devout Catholic Frenchman be looking to give billions of dollars to an evangelical organization? Is that not weird? Just objectively weird? Gosh, that's a pretty big investment. Just really care about free market capitalism? What's France got to do with college campuses in America? Full stop. The answer, Erica, is nothing. Nothing. And one of the things that when I was...
Local tax experts are here. Now you can meet with a TurboTax expert in your community.
A kid, and other GATE kids, since we've been speaking about the GATE program, when they put you in these special classes, they test you. Frequencies, sounds, they made us drink fluoride, all the weird stuff. But one of the things that they're especially interested in is how quickly you can put together puzzles. And I want you to know that I excelled at that. I was really good at putting together puzzles. I gotta tell you, I think the picture is starting to emerge here. I think I was right. My best guess is that it was Pierre Falcone all along. Of Angola Gate, we talked about it on the show. France, Israel, the United States, this time it would be Egypt rather than Angola, all working together. Maybe they were getting the band back together to traffic because, there's been a lot of trafficking that just keeps coming up in this investigation. These countries, these satellite of countries, you trying to pretend with your what now, billions of dollars, got a PR, we can do all of this. And it was so crazy. Oh my God. A little joke about the Egyptian planes. What? Nothing to see here. This is my theory. There's a lot to see here because you were lying to cover Bibi Netanyahu's tracks. That's very strange. You were there when Bibi Netanyahu called. Andrew told me that Bibi offered to take Turning Point USA to the next level and that Charlie turned him down in the Hamptons at the dinner that you were a part of, but you don't remember that part. You say he's just calling about a letter that Charlie wrote 5 months earlier. The dinner that you thereafter allowed an army of influencers to claim never actually happened, but you were there. Oh, I was there every step of the way. None of this ever happened. Nobody wanted to address Bibi calling. Nobody made any statements about that. Full-blown psyop, psychological operation. Truly, everything that you guys did, not only was it cruel, but I think the real motivation was you just thought you could psychologically break me. Because that's what this whole thing has been. It's been one big psyop. Very well funded because there's a lot of money on the line. If nothing happened in the Hamptons that was out of the usual, why the panic? Because something did happen. Charlie told Bibi Netanyahu no. Bibi, also, Charlie had declined to have Bibi on his podcast. When Bibi went on a little PR tour, Charlie didn't want to have him on the podcast. according to Andrew. So Charlie seems pretty done with Israel, right? You don't want to have on the prime minister of Israel. But the obvious question here that the media is not interested in, but I certainly am, is in exchange for what, right? In exchange for what was Bibi Netanyahu going to take Turning Point USA to the next level? In exchange for what? And also, how was he planning to get that money into the company? Turning Point was already worth $100 million. Pulls in $100 million annually. What does the next level mean? It sounds like it would have to be billions. Via whom? My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence. I also now have very strong evidence which suggests that you lied about your whereabouts on the morning of September 10th. Little details have been edited. You said that you were accompanying your mother as she was receiving a treatment. Like I said, I now have something which strongly disputes that narrative. So I'll ask you this question on behalf of the world. What the hell happened on September 10th? Why are you guys struggling to get your story straight? Why did you tell Jesse Waters this?
And you wanted to see Charlie immediately and came up. Take us through that.
We landed in Utah, went straight to the hospital.
Straight to the hospital? Andrew told me that when he deplaned, you guys embraced on the tarmac and he boohoo cried in your arms because he had so much pent-up anxiety. So just given the planes, which you confirmed to me which plane he was on and which plane you were on, that would mean that you had to wait for Andrew to land for an hour. You waited for an hour. Don't do the thing where you tell me that Andrew went rogue. Don't do that, Erica. You're lying. You would be lying. The question is why? Why did you wait? And how long did you wait? And who was on the Egyptian planes? Who took off to Delaware? Who stayed behind to communicate on that second plane that was transponding for no reason? I think you know what I know, which is that I'm going to find out. This is not going to be a never-ending mystery. This is not going to be the JFK story. I'm going to figure out exactly what happened, and I'm getting very close, against all odds, against billions. You might have the billions, but I have the truth. So that's what I wanted to say to you. By the way, I forgot to mention, Erica, if you could do me a favor. Doug DeGroot, that board member that announced you as the CEO, he made it really biblical. Could you send him my regards? I know he was meeting with Mikey the other day. They were discussing how to invest money. It's so weird. Mikey went straight from high school, was just Charlie's intern assistant, and now he's sitting down with board members and discussing how they should invest into restaurants. Just send him my regards because we're everywhere and we're watching and we're listening. The whole world is invested in solving this. And so, hi, Doug.